So this is the Netflix example we tried local host. Hmm. We created this with combination of Bootstrap. We used a Bootstrap also. We learned how to set up Bootstrap. Have you done? Is Bootstrap working fine? Bootstrap is working fine, huh? Right? Yeah. Right. So everyone, right? Okay. So here we are now learning all the techniques of how to create a complete page. So first step, what you learned is how to create a component, set up the component in startup, and apply some effects using styles and using Bootstrap. We added a component by using a documentation technique. Which documentation technique we used? Inline. Today we will see other techniques. So we are going to see, so component, adding component using code behind technique. Today we will see how to add a component using code behind technique. So yesterday we learned inline technique. In inline technique, what happens? All the code is present in one location, is present in one file. The presentation, the logic, and the styles, everything is defined in one file. Code behind technique is nothing but, so in this technique component is defined using 4 files. Actually, we have 4 files. So one is component.html. This is for presentation. Another, we have component.css. This is for styles. And the component.ts. This is for logic. And component.spec.ts. This is for testing. But as of now, testing we will ignore, because testing is the concept you will learn at the end. At the end, you will learn about testing. So currently for component, you can add 3 files. So the component HTML file, the component CSS file, the component TypeScript file, and the spec file. These are the 3 basic files are required. Spec file, while learning testing, we will do that. Let's see how to add a component by using this technique. So first we are going to project, and in this project now we will add a new folder. Here in the components folder, because now we need to maintain 3 files for every component, we will create subfolders now. For every component, now you create a subfolder. So I am selecting components and add a new folder. I will give the folder name some login. The folder name is login. Now, how many files we need? Let's add those files into that folder. First, add a new file, login.component.ts. That is TypeScript. Another file, login dot component dot html. One more file. So we have login dot component dot css. These are the three files. For every component, we will add these three files. Testing file, we will add when we learn about testing. So let's design. There is no order in designing. You can design anything anywhere first. But we will start configuring, designing everything from TS file. Let's go to the TS file. In the TS file, we need to define component. So we are using first import. You know already what to import. So import component from Angular core. After that, we are defining export class. What is the component name? Login component. So this login component is marked with @component. In this, every component have selector. Selector is what? App hyphen I am giving login. Okay. Now presentation is not directly defined. It is coming from a HTML file. So here we have to use template URL now. Yesterday we used template. If your presentation is directly defined, then template. If it is coming from another file, then you have to use template URL. Template URL. What is the file location? File is present in which folder? Same folder. Then dot slash. You know dot slash means previous level folder. Current folder means dot slash. What is the file? Template URL is HTML file name. What is the HTML file name? Login dot component dot HTML, like this. After that, next. Yesterday we return styles directly. When we return styles directly, we used styles array. But now styles will come from separate file. Can we have multiple CSS files for one page? Can we have multiple CSS files for one page? Yes. So that is the reason here we have style URLs. Style URLs. Here we need to put an array. It's an array. Array of what type? String. It is an array of string type. In that, we need to mention the location of first style sheet. Dot slash, what is login dot component. I will use single quotes everywhere here in the code. Dot slash login dot component dot CSS. That's how we need to define. If there is another CSS file, you need to just put a comma and you need to add another CSS file. You can add multiple CSS files. Okay, this is what we need to do extra. What is difference between yesterday and today component design? Yesterday component design was inline. Then directly we write template and we write styles directly. Now the template URL, because the file is HTML separately defined, and style URLs, that is CSS separately defined. Now it is ready. Your component is ready, but markup and styles are not there. Let's go to the design now. Login component. Here it is HTML file. Here you design HTML. Remember, you are designing a component, not a HTML page. What is difference between a HTML page and a component? Component is embedded into HTML page. So here you should not write doc type and all. Understood? Here you should not write any HTML complete document structure because already this is present in which location? Index. You have to display this component where? In index body. So you need to just design the body, design the content in body. That means you should not create a complete HTML file. If you create a complete HTML file, two documents will be there. So lot of technical issues will come. So generally, we more technically speaking, we call this as actually, suppose we call as like this. When you are working with Angular and React and other technologies like this, we call as view and we call as partial view. So if anybody says that you need to add a view, adding a view is nothing but it is complete HTML, complete HTML page. It is complete HTML page. Suppose if anybody says you need to add a partial view means what? It is a portion of page, not page. So every component must be a partial view. It should not be a view because it goes into a view. And who is the view here? Index.html. Index.html is the view. It goes into that view. Now we have to just design a div. In the div, we need to put a class. I will put a class because we are using Bootstrap. I will put a class as what? Container fluid. That is a Bootstrap class. And here I'm designing a login screen. So I will create a div. Okay. For this div, I will put a class as a login form. Okay. In this, we are designing a form and the form will have a data list, or you can use your traditional Bootstrap technique for designing. I'm just using a data list, data term, some username, data definition, input type is text. So, and it's not and required here. Data term, another one is password. Data definition, input type is equal to password. And we have a button login. Like this we design. Now, this is the presentation we are going to give. Now let's apply this in the startup. Keep this in the startup. So let's go to the page. This component you manually added is not ready to use. You know already yesterday we discussed that every component must be registered. Where it should be registered? App module.ts. Here where you have to register, in which location? Declarations. All components are defined in which location? Declaration. Here declaration I will import. Actually you have to import and use, but Visual Studio have a facility. It can alert you. You can simply select. For example, I am using which one? Login component. It will import it for you automatically. If it is not importing, you have to manually write. Understood? Otherwise, you can first import and you have to define. I want login component in startup. So remove the Bootstrap here and we will keep which one? Login component. It is in the startup. Now, this should be defined in the index page also, right? We have to go to index.html. Here it is not app register. It should start with which one? App login. That is the selector. Now you can see this is the login we are having. So that is the login. We created a simple login. I will go to HTML. I am keeping a heading here as user login. And you can see that will be affected there. Now, if you want to apply styles, effects and all, now let's see here. I want this form to be center screen. Then we will go to login component CSS. We will write here. So what is the class? The class is login form. So I will use dot login form. Login form we will keep here display as flex, justify content center, align items center, and height as some 400 pixel. Then it will keep the form in the center. Now I want form. We have form with some border 1 pixel solid gray, and I am giving box shadow 2 pixel, 2 pixel, 3 pixel, some gray, and you can see some padding 20 pixel. Then you can see some gap. Now I am giving here some border radius as 20 pixel. It will be some curved. I want to adjust to little center height. I will give it to 500. That will be down. We want to apply some, we are using Bootstrap. Then what we will do, let's go to HTML. Text box will have a class called form control. And password also will have a class called form control. Buttons will have a class btn primary and w100 width 100. Now you can see that is the appearance of text box, password and button. Bootstrap provides icons also. We imported icons also yesterday. So here I can put a span. I can put Bootstrap icons, bi person fill something. You can see it will put that icon. This is a simple login screen. This is a login component we design. Here we are using Bootstrap. Here we are using Bootstrap icons. Here we are using our own styles also. Right? That is the basic design. But what is difference between yesterday and today? Yesterday we were using inline technique. Now we have code behind. What is good? What is bad about code behind technique? Good is cleanly separated, easily extensible, easily testable, easily reusable. So you can reuse, you can easily test, you can easily extend. Extend means later some modifications you need to do, you can easily do it. Clean separation of presentation, logic and styles. There are no separation issues, there are no reusability issues, and there are no testability related issues. But one problem is how many files are required? 3 files. Test file, ignore that. That is only for testing. 3 files are required. So whenever you request this component, 3 requests will come. And as a web developer, we know that if number of requests are increasing, page load time will increase. So if you want a component with stable functionality, regular changes are not required, then better go inline. If you want regular changes in the components, then better go with code behind technique. This is code behind technique, right? So here what we done for that in the code behind technique. So what is advantage? So clean separation of presentation, styles and logic. Easy to extend and test. Easy to reuse. It is easy to reuse, easy to extend, easy to test, easy to reuse. But one issue is there. So the number of requests will increase, hence it will affect the page load time. It will affect the page load time. So the number of requests will increase, hence it will affect the page load time. It will increase the page load time, right? That is very important about this. So if you need a component with the regular extensions, then better use which technique? Code behind technique. Better use the code behind technique. That is what actually you need to understand. So example is nothing but first go to components folder and add a subfolder. What is the subfolder? We added login, right? Then add following files into login. What are the files we need? One is login.component.ts, login.component.html, another one login.component.css. These are the three files you need to add. I will give the code of these three files in the classroom. You can take from there. Okay. So login.component.ts. The code I will copy. This is the code. So that I will keep. Another one is login.component.html. That I will copy here. This is HTML. Another one, login.component.css. CSS, I will keep this here. This is the component. These are the three files. Rest, I don't need to tell every day. After you design this component, next step, what you have to do? Register this component in which location? App module, and put it in Bootstrap, right? That you have to do every day. So every day you need to set up, register the component in app.module.ts. In declarations, we have to do, what is it? Login component. And in Bootstrap also you have to do. In Bootstrap also login component. After that, you need to set in index.html. What it is? App login. That is the selector name. That's how we need to define. These third and fourth steps are same every day. No need to give every time, right? You need to do that. Okay. Now we learned two techniques of adding component. Inline technique, another one code behind. But in these two techniques, everything we have to do manually. We have to add files, we need to write the code, and we need to define all the logic, presentation and everything we need to define. There is another technique actually. Here I will tell you some important things, what we additionally used here. In code behind technique, component directive, component directive will use two important one. One is template URL. Another one is style URLs. Template URL is a string type. Type URLs is an array type. This is additional thing. In in inline technique, at the net component uses two options. What is it? Template, another one styles. That is, template is again string type and styles is an array. These will change depending on what you are designing. So is it code behind or is it inline? Now we learned how to create one component, how to create a component and use the components. Actually, when you are working with components, another important is you can add components, adding components by using CLI commands. You can add components using CLI commands, adding components using CLI commands. What is advantage of this is actually Angular supports scaffolding. Angular supports scaffolding. Scaffolding is nothing but scaffolding is a technique where the code is generated according to the developer's requirement. The code is generated according to developer's requirement. Developer need not to write everything, right? That is what actually scaffolding is. So scaffolding technique, actually it's a big concept. We have server side scaffolding, client side scaffolding. You are using Angular means it is which side? Client side. Angular is completely client side. We are using Angular means it is client side scaffolding. So for that we have so many commands. I will show you how to add the components, and what you have to do is run the following commands in terminal. You have to run the commands in terminal. Where to run these commands in terminal? Where you want to add a component, there you have to run. So in terminal, which location we have to add? In app location, because app is the location. In app, which location? In app we have a separate folder na. What is the folder? Components. In that folder you need to run the commands. Let's see how to use the commands. How do we work with the commands? Let's see. Suppose already components are there. So here you can see I have two components here. One is login, another Netflix register. I want to create another component, some home. We want to create some home component. To create a component, so now open this location in terminal. Open the components location in terminal. You can right click on the components folder, open in integrated terminal. You have to select open in integrated terminal. Then it will open that location in terminal. You can see this is the location in terminal. This is the location where it is in app. In app, what? Components. Make sure that you are in command prompt, not in PowerShell. I already told you in the beginning. So make sure that you are in command prompt, not in the PowerShell. How to change? I told you. You can change here what? Select default profile. There you can select command prompt. Right? That is important. Otherwise, commands will not work. Okay. Now, in this location, what we have to do? Run the commands. How to generate a component? Actually, to generate component, we have the commands like this. We have to use the command and command purpose. I will give a table. You have to run the command like this. So the command is ng generate ng generate component and name. You can give this name. What it will do is, so it generates a new component. It generates a new component. But what happens is, it is going to, it adds four files. So that means, what are those files? No need to tell, you know. One is .html, another one is .css, another one is .ts, another one is .spec.ts. It adds four files. Not only that, what it will do is, it registers in app module. It registers automatically in app module. Only the point is, it will not keep in bootstrap. Bootstrap you have to put. That means it will add the files. The files will contain some sample logic, and it will register your component in app module. Just by running one command, you can do everything. So here some important points are there. Actually, we can write like this, means there is a shortcut way for that. You can write like this, or you can put like this. Shortcut is there. Shortcut is nothing but, you can write ng gc and name. That is shortcut actually. NGGC. NGG is what? Generate. C is for component, and what name you want for the component. You can do that. So that is shortcut technique. Now see here, I am writing the command ng generate component. Component name is home. Now it will create that component by name home. It will create the component, add all the files for that. But we have some flags now. That means some options are there. What are the options you can add is, here we can put double hyphen, we can put an flag, an option actually. So option is nothing but, so we can put dry run. We can put an option dry run. Dry run is nothing but, dry run means, example, dry run is nothing but, suppose tomorrow is 26 January, Republic Day. In Delhi, Republic Day parade happens. Yesterday, its dry run happened. You know, yesterday its dry run happened. Dry run means what? Rehearsal. Yesterday it happened. 24th dry run will happen. 26th the original parade will happen. What is meant by dry run means, it is not actual, but in actual how to do, it will show. That means when which person have to come, all audience also will be there. Only guests will not be there. Everything will happen in the same way how it happens tomorrow. Only guest will not be there. Even several ministers, everything will be there. Some chief guests will not be there. That is called dry run. Dry run means, before really generating, we need to first take a trial. That means if you add this dry run, it will not add the component. It will first tell the developer, I am going to do this. Are you sure? Understood? Because if a developer don't know what will add, where it will affect, and without knowing all this, if he directly adds, what will happen? It will affect so much of project. That means by adding one file, changing its name or location, it may affect lot of things in your project. So you cannot add anything without knowing what it is really trying to do. So before adding permanently, first you need a drill run. That is what we call it as what? Dry run. That means it is not really generating. It will show you what it is going to generate. That means see now, if I hit enter, it will create. I will not do that. I will use here dry hyphen run. Remember, these commands are little bit headache because every version the command syntax changes. That means few versions command syntax different. Now this is from latest version. Dry run is written as dry hyphen run. Earlier versions it's not like that. Earlier versions we need to write dry run in camel case. Version by version these commands will change. It's not like blindly you write in notes and after 4 years you follow the same. Right after, by the time we finish Angular 15, Angular 16 is ready. By the time you finish Angular 15, Angular 16 is ready. Angular 16 is already ready. It is going to come. That means now you need to explore by yourself and see what changes from the official websites. You need to keep in touch because these technologies are not standard every time. They are keep on changing. Several new things will be adding. Syntaxes will be little bit changing. Version by version, you need to explore by yourself by visiting the official website. I will show you where you can see that. Okay. Initially, I am using dry run, but this time it is dry hyphen what run. And when I hit enter, it is going to display what it is trying to create. And see, it is creating how many files? 4. And it is updating one place. Right? What it is creating? Home component HTML, home component spec, home component TS, and home component CSS. And what it is updating? App module.ts. And see, it says that dry run means no changes were made. That means nothing happened. That means home component added a? No, it's not added. Just it showed you that this is what I will do. If you are interested, then remove the dry run and hit enter. Then it will really create that. It will really create. So dry run is used to test before what it actually does. That's very important. Blindly you cannot add without knowing what is added, where it is affected. First you should know and then add. That is what actually dry run. Okay. Now in this, what happened? It is generating how many files? Dry run means it is nothing but trail, right? Dry run is trail. Dry run means no changes were made. This I will give. Okay, na? The dry run option means no changes were made. That is the meaning of dry run. It is just a trail actually. But see how many files are created. No, I want only inline technique. Inline technique means how many files? Only one file. That means in command, you can tell what you want also. If you blindly run this command, it will generate code behind. But I want inline. That means suppose, remember, you can have inline in several ways. Some people, what they do is, they don't create CSS file. They will put CSS in TypeScript and they will put only HTML file and TS file. That means styles can be inline. Sometimes what they do, they will put CSS file separate and HTML code they will put inside TS only. That means template can be inline, styles can be inline, all can be inline. There are so many options. We have to just put an option like this. Another option, you can put an option called inline template. inline template, if you put this option inline template, that means it will not generate dot HTML. That means inline template means you are telling that the markup I will keep inside the TS only. Then it will generate how many files now? 3 files. Test file is compulsory na. That means it will generate TS file, CSS file, another one, test file, spec file. 3 files it is going to generate. Let's see. I will run this command like this. ng generate component. What is it? Home. After that hyphen hyphen. What is it? Inline template. Again hyphen hyphen. I will give dry run. Because I don't want to really create, I want to just see, right? Dry run add every time. Now run this and see. Now you can see inline template, it is not generating the HTML file. What files are generated? Spec file, TS file, another one CSS. It is not generating HTML file. So what does that means? Now HTML can be kept inside the TS. Okay, I don't want the CSS file. Then inline styles. Inline styles means it will not generate. It will not generate dot CSS. If you don't want to generate both, you need to add both. Am I right? You need to add 2 options. One option inline template, another option inline styles. Right? Then it will generate only one file TS, another file spec. If you don't want test file, then skip test. Skip test. Skip test is nothing but it will not generate. It will not generate. It will not generate which file dot spec dot ts. So you can ignore and you can create only one. So let's put this here now. So I am adding here same ng generate component home. One is inline template space. Another one is inline styles and again skip test and dry run. All these options we are writing. And you will see it will create only one file now. Okay, inline style. Okay, inline style it is, not styles, huh? Right, inline style. Now you can see it is generating only one file. What is that? Home component dot ts. That's it. And it is updating in this location. So it depends on how you want to add. That means while adding through commands also you have choice. You can generate code behind component. You can generate inline component. You can generate inline with only template. You can generate inline with only CSS. That depends on your requirement. So remember, inline means it doesn't means that all in one. Sometimes code behind means it doesn't means all. Inline means not all in one. Sometimes only inline styles also can be there. Sometimes only inline template can be there. If you say simply inline means all in one location. If you say only inline styles, then it means that there will be a separate HTML. If you say only inline template, that means only CSS will be separate file, right? That depends how you want, right? I will add now here. See what I am doing. Currently, you can see in components, there is no home added. Let's do here now. Let's add ng generate component. What is the component? Home. And I will simply use skip test, or I will not use that also, just this, and hit enter. No dry run, nothing. That means it will really create now. When I run this, it really created now. Let's observe here. Close. Let's go to project. You see in the components, home is added. And automatically in that home folder, all 4 files are present. And interestingly, when you select this index.ts, code is also generated. Code is also generated. This is what we were writing manually. So without command also we done that. Command will generate everything for you. That means it is adding everything for you. Everything same na? It have a selector, it have HTML, it have CSS. Component imported directive. And actually it will generate only TS file. Huh? You go to the HTML, it says homeworks. Here you need to customize whatever you want. In CSS, it is empty because it doesn't know what CSS you want. What logic it generated is TS, but all other files it kept empty. You need to customize and you need to add manually. One another interesting spec file, don't see, you will be confused because this is testing related. For that, you need to learn testing, right? As of now, we don't need this, but see app module.ts. When you go to app module.ts, that home component is registered. Only that it is not present in which location? Bootstrap. So here, if you want, you can keep it. So that means here you need to set which component? Home component. Then you can run and you can see it says homeworks. One more we need to do now. What is there? Any error is there? It's not compiled. Compiled successfully. In home component. Acha, we haven't changed index na. We need to change index, right? In index, which component? App home. Okay, right. Here we need to set app home. Yeah. Now you can see the home works. That is what it there it is in that HTML page. So now it's little bit easy. Now, if anybody asks which one is best, there is nothing like that. Why? Because sometimes when you add scaffolds, lot of code will be generated which is not according to your requirement. Then we will manually add it, right? It's not necessary that we have to add only through commands, right? So how do we write the commands? Now syntax is like this. We need to just open the terminal, ng generate what component, and home. Here we define some option like what. There is no order in these options. You can use any order, right? Suppose we want, we can write inline template. If we want, we can write inline style. If we want, we can write skip test. All these we can do. Or we can simply say ng generate component. Which component? Home. That's it. We can add in any way we want, adding a component. So this is commands. So you learned two techniques now, adding components by using CLI and adding components manually. So depending on your requirement, you can choose any. Now, once we know how to add these components, let's see how to use these components and build a page. We will see now an example of building a page. Let's try designing the yesterday's one Netflix like page. We will see Netflix like page. Let's open Netflix. Let's try to design this page. We will try to design this page. Now in this page, we need to first decide how many components are there. We need to understand how many components are there. Actually, this is one component. This is one component. This is actually a component I will give. This component name is Netflix index. Okay. In index component, what it is having background photo, but background photo is not dominated. It is light in color. Okay. Now here you can see, this is header component. In header component, there is a drop down and there is a sign. That is a header component. We have an header component, and this is a main component actually. This is header, and this is actually main. In main, these are all part of main, but this is another component. In main, it is another component. In main, this is another component. This component is what? This component is register. This is register component. So how many components we need totally? 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 components we need to create. Which component will start? Netflix index. Index will start. In that you can put header, main, and inside main register. Understood? Inside main register. So let's create these components and see now. So I will go here as of now. First, temporarily, we will keep everything in one location here. In my computer, I am having some Netflix banner photo. Okay. I will use some Netflix banner photo. Shopping, like some public. I have some Netflix banner. Okay. I will copy this. First, you copy the photo. You can Google, you will get Netflix banner and you can save. Where to put it? Let's go to here, the location. You observe here, all static resources are kept in which location? Assets. That means we have assets. You keep all your images here. We have to keep everything in that assets. Now I am just using reveal in Explorer. In assets folder, I am keeping that file. This is Netflix banner. So that is defined in assets. In assets, we are configuring it. Lot of issues will come where to keep the files, from where to map. Anybody asked you in interview, is it compulsory to keep in assets? No, you can keep in various other locations also, but that you have to map. You have to set path. If you don't set path, then it will not work. Where to set path, I will tell you. We will discuss that. Actually, those settings are present in Angular JSON file. When we go to Angular JSON file, you can see in Angular JSON file, lot of settings are there. In these settings, you can see lot of configuration settings will be there. Here, all the folders will be mentioned actually. Folders means project folder, and see here prefix. Prefix must be what? For which one? Components. Selector names. These rules we need to follow. If anybody asks, can I change? You can change. So here we can put assets. You can see assets. Assets are present in which location? Projects. In projects what? Shopping. In shopping. SRC. In SRC, assets. Right? You can change path, your wish. That means if anybody asks like, okay, you learned that you have to keep in assets. Can I change that location? Yes, you can change. But for that, we need to customize the path. Okay. So let's go. Image is ready. We copied that Netflix banner. Now go to components location here. I will put one separate. Better, I will do one thing. Instead of components, in app, I will add a separate folder called Netflix. Understood? Netflix related all components we will add here. Okay, we will create a separate Netflix folder. Open that in terminal. Netflix folder is opened in terminal. Now generate all the components that you want. How many components we need to generate? 4 components we need to generate. So ng generate component. First component name Netflix hyphen index. We will skip test file. Others we will keep. That means skip test. Okay. Enter. Netflix index is added. Okay. Next what? Next what? Netflix header na? Netflix header. I am adding another component. Netflix header. Okay. 2 I added. Netflix index, Netflix header. Next what? Netflix main. Netflix main. Okay. That is also added. Fine. One more we need. What is it? Netflix register. Okay. That's also added. We are adding all these components now. Now let's close this. You can see in the project in app Netflix, all those 4 components are present. So we have Netflix, index, main, register, and header. We should start with which one? We should start with the index. So this Netflix index we will put in startup. App module. See, all are registered already. Right? Netflix index, Netflix header, Netflix main, all are registered. Which one you want in Bootstrap? Netflix Netflix index component. So in index HTML also we have to change app what? Netflix index. We will see whether it is having a hyphen or not. Netflix index selector hyphen is there na? Right. So we need to use that here. Netflix hyphen what? Index. We need to keep that end also. Netflix index. Okay. Now let's see the page. It shows that your Netflix index works. Here we want to put a background picture. So let's go and here we will go to Netflix index component.html. Netflix index component.html. Here we will put a complete div. For this div, I will just put a class called background. Am I right? Now let's go to its CSS file. Index component.css. We will access that what here we will access class as background. What you want to set? We want to set a background image. Background image means we are defining like this. What it is? Background hyphen what? Image. Image URL. URL is coming from assets. What is it? Netflix banner. What we have? Banner. You see, you need to be very careful in extensions also. Netflix banner.jpg, JPG, PNG, all these. Netflix banner.jpg. That is the Netflix background we are keeping. Now here you can see it's showing problem now. What is saying it is problem? It is saying that cannot resolve the path. See the path where it is doing. It is accessing the path projects, shopping, SRC, Netflix header, index component. Actually, this assets I am using hyphen. You see that is the hyphen. That means the assets is there. Because we need to define the path, because already in their location they mention the path. To that path we need to add this path, then we have to put a slash. Now very important, there is no content na. What we have to do here, we have to put background height. Background height I will give 700 pixels. 700 pixels background height we are giving. Now you can see image. Background height is 700 pixels, but this banner should fit correctly. If the banner should fit correctly, background we can give size as cover, background size cover. It will fit like this. Background size is cover. Height I can give some 500 pixels. Then it will come in this way. I will keep minimum 600 pixels. Then it will be in this way. Now background is there, but background should not dominate. Background should not dominate. But on that background, we will put some content. Actually, for that, we need to apply some CSS tricks. Like in this background, we will keep a div. This we will put a class shade. Okay. In CSS, we are giving dot shade. Shade have a background color. Background color, we will give RGBA, red, green, blue, alpha. So 0, 0, 0, it will give black color. Alpha means transparency. I will put that. First, see height. Height is how much pixels? 600. And you can see there is a background shade. But that background shade should be transparent. Then we will put alpha as 0.6. Alpha value will be from 0 to 1. Then it will be little transparent now. We have a background image, but not dominating. That depends on how much transparency you give. 0.4 then means more transparent. So here I am giving 0.5, little dark. So we put a background image and we put the background image in such a way that it is not dominating. Okay, index is ready. Right, where to keep the file? We have to keep that JPG file in assets. We have to set the path /assets/file name. And be careful about the extensions and the name of the file, where you keep the file and all. Okay, now it is there. In this index, we need a header. In this index, we need a header. Let's design header now. Let's go to header. Where is header component? This is Netflix header HTML. Remember, currently we don't need anything with TS file because we are not writing any functionality. Functionalities we will write in the next level. Then we will use that file. Here we are first learning presentations, everything. Now in the header file, what we have to do, you saw the Netflix header. We will put a div. So in the div, or you can put semantic element. What is semantic? We have header. Na? Header is a semantic element. You can just keep header, and in this header we will have one division. In this division we will put a heading, not heading. I will just put here the word as Netflix, and here I will put a class as brand. Brand is company name, right? What is it? Okay, next another div. So in this div, what I will do is I will put here. So one is drop down, means I will put a select, and we will put an option as language. So actually, so they use a bootstrap drop down because ordinary drop downs of HTML cannot have image. We cannot have images. Images cannot be there. Then usually they use bootstrap drop downs. But bootstrap drop downs requires bootstrap scripts also. That is little bit complex. Initially, I will put a just ordinary drop down. In this, I will keep another option. What is it? English. Another option is Hindi, suppose. And here I will use, you can see they have English and Hindi. Right, then I will do one thing. Into that I will put Google Translate. Google Translate. In Google Translate, my source language English. This is Hindi. Target language is Hindi. Copy that Hindi word and we can paste here. We can paste here. That means we have a drop down with that, right? We will have two languages defined here. But remember, actually it is having a icon, but that we can't put in HTML drop downs. But temporarily I will do one thing. I will keep a div and here we will keep a span. So span class as bi globe and for this I will give class as input group. And here we are giving a class as a form select. Form select is nothing but drop down. After that, here we will keep a button. We are keeping another button here. So we will keep a button, another div. We'll keep a button here. Button is what? Sign in. So this is class btn danger. Okay. Now this is just header we designed. This header where you need to show. This header where you need to show in the index top area. Na? Okay, let's go to our index component. This is index component. Here we want to put that component. Header component. Simple. Access its selector name. What is its selector name? App. What is it? Netflix header. This is simple. We are accessing that component in this component. Now you can see actually header is there. But here header is added now, but it is very complex. We need to adjust this now. So what we will do, let's go to header CSS. In header CSS, what we are doing, this is header CSS is this. Here we given a class called what? Brand. For brand font size, I will give as 20 or 30 pixel and color I will give as red. And you can see it is Netflix. And font weight I will give as bold. Bold will be little thicker. Okay, I will do one more here. Header I will give display as flex. It will keep everything side by side. Display flex. Another one I will use justify content space between. That means one will be left, another one will be right. I will use some padding for header, padding as 10 pixel. Some gap will come. I need those buttons and those globe symbol is there, na? Right? In Netflix header here, this globe will have a class called input group text. Input group text. And these two will have a class dflex. That is nothing but display flex, and you can keep side by side. I want some gap between that. That means what we will do is here we will give margin end as 2. That means it will have some gap. Right? I will give the button here. Button size your wish. Actually BTN, what we do, BTN LG. BTN LG is what? Button large. You can see that is the button. This is the header. That is the header we have. Header is ready. Right? That means here we are having the drop down with these options. That is Netflix header. Suppose I am adding the brand name. What is the brand name size as some 35? Then it will add the size like this. Now this is Netflix index and another one is Netflix header. Right? That is how we define. Actually, that depends on font size, how much you give. Some 20. They will keep their logo. We are not keeping the logo. We are just keeping some text. Right? They will have a logo designed in Photoshop or somewhere. They will keep it. Now this is fine. Header is ready. What is next? Main. Right? So let's go to the main now. In C, the main have these details na. I will go here. We have to create the main section now. Let's close this header. Okay, let's design the main section now. Let's go Netflix. Which one? Main. Okay, in main HTML, we will keep a div. In this div, this is what we want to display. That means first one, I will keep as heading 1. Second one, I will keep as heading 3. Like this, we are adding heading 1, heading 3. Now these are present here. Okay, this is which one? Main. Where to display that main? Under the header, na? Right. So let's go to index. In index, under the header, I will add a div. Okay. For this div, we will keep, actually it is not div, just we add main here. Understood? In the main, which component we have to access? App Netflix main. This is ready. Now you can see here that is added, but this is here now. We need to adjust its alignment now. We need to keep the alignment. So alignment, color and all. Okay. Let's go to the main CSS. Where is main CSS? Yeah, in the main CSS for main, what is it? Color. Color is what? White. That means you can see it is white. So which one? I think heading dot. This is main only. Directly main is there. No, this is not class. We given where is main div now we created. So actually better we should create this as what already their main is given. I will just keep here. What is it? Div. Okay. That's div will be there. Okay. Now for this div, what we will give text align. Text align as center and height as suppose some 400 pixel height. Okay. One more important is these two must be center. For that, actually in that main, we need to keep these two in another div. And we will apply a class for this. Two divs are there now. Then we will apply a class called main. And here we will use that class. This is what? Dot main. And here we need to use justify content, center, display as what? Flex, align items what? Center. And you can see it will display like this. It will keep in this way. Font size, width and all your wish. You see their font size is large. We can keep that, right? That means for heading, so wherever heading 1 is there, what is it? Font size 40 pixel. I'm giving large. Suppose 50 pixel. So this is little more large. I need to adjust the width for this. I'm giving width for heading as some 600 pixel. Then it will display in this way. I'm using, this is enough. So we can add some 650 pixel width. Then it will adjust in this way. Right, we can adjust the width and we can define. Now, one more thing we have to do. Below this, we need register. Yesterday we done already register. Right, but that register we use a lot of background color and all. Just simply create one register there. Okay. So I already have Netflix register. Go to Netflix register HTML. And you know what register contains. Register contains a div. In the div, we need to keep input type is what? Email placeholder. Right. So placeholder your email address. And beside that, there will be a button. Button have get started and will have a span. Class BI chevron right. And this button will have class BTN danger. This will have a class as form control, and both will have a class input group, and I will give some input group LG, okay, large. Actually, above this, there is one more option also. There is a paragraph. There is a paragraph. So that paragraph is ready to watch. This paragraph is kept above that. Okay. Now this must be displayed. Go to index page now. Index inside the main. Inside the main. That means inside the main means you have to go to main. Inside main or below main, your wish. Where you want to keep. Suppose here I am adding, what is it? App. What is it? Netflix register. I'm adding app Netflix register. It will display here. But I want inside the main. That means then what we will do here, width and height, your wish. I will go to main. In the main, after this heading, we will add that register. After the heading, we will add that register. That means it will display like this. Am I right? That means now we need some gap. You can adjust. Here we can put a class, what margin top as some 4. That means some margin top, it will adjust. This gap we need. Then for this register paragraph is there. Na? For paragraph, we will put a class margin top as 4. That means it will have some gap paragraph. This is the Netflix register. This is the Netflix homepage that we have designed, and by using all the components, am I right? So here we have Netflix index, we have Netflix header, Netflix main, and Netflix register. What is advantage? I told you already. Suppose I will go to index main component. Suppose I want another register form. Then what you do? Just copy another. And you can see another register form will come. You can reuse any number of times. That means somewhere bottom you want another register form, because Netflix people have that. Na? At the bottom you can see again register is there. Will they design every time? No, they will just reuse it. Any number of times you can reuse. Just you can access and reuse. So that means you can reuse the component any number of times. This is the advantage, that is allows reusability, right? This is how we have to use components hierarchy. So can we access a component in another component? Yes. So that depends. Any levels you can go, right? You must able to try designing like this, right? This is enough for today. This entire Netflix folder I will upload as a zip file. Okay, na? In Google Classroom, you can download that and you can try that. Okay, this entire Netflix folder I will upload into Classroom. If you can try this, then we can go with functionality also. We will learn more about components and working with them. That we'll see in tomorrow's session. Okay, tomorrow we have session. We will celebrate here only. Okay, right. Tomorrow we'll continue. Okay, na? Tomorrow no holiday. We have session. Okay, right. Yeah.